So in today's video, I'm taking some of the secondhand finds that I found that are a little bit worse for wear. There's a reason that they were for sale. They were left unwanted. Either they're outdated, they're broken, and they just need a little bit of loving to get them to be wanted and to get them to be beautiful home decor again. So I was super excited when Chris, my husband, bought this at an auction for me because he's like, hey, I bet you can make that over into something else. And he's right. That shape is amazing. We do got a little bit of brokenness. And it is a two-sided sign, but I'm not making a two-sided sign again. It's only going to be a one-sided sign, y'all. Yeah, turn the channel if you wanted it to be two. But so I need to fix this part first because I don't want it to be falling apart. So it had some type of screws. I don't know what those are, but that might be the back side. So we just have to figure out which side is the prettiest to make it the front side. So before any more of this veneer board comes off or breaks off, I'm going to put a little CA glue. I'm going to do a little bit of the accelerator, and then I'm just going to hold. The nice thing about CA glue is it has that accelerator that within 15 seconds it dries, so you don't have to sit there and hold it and wait for other glues to dry, and it is totally sandable, so if anything squishes out, it's all good, like it's squishing out where some of that is missing, which is perfect because I needed to do some kind of filler there anyway. I'm not sure what those are, some type of washer. So one of them already popped out, so I don't know. If I can get it out, I think that would be better. Oh, there we go. I have holes that go all the way through here, and then I have holes that go all the way through there. So I don't want to wait all day for wood putty to dry. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of Bondo. It's got like a 5-10 minute cure time, so that's why it usually is one of my go-tos. And once cured, it is hard. So as soon as you get it mixed in together, you need to start working with it, because as soon as the two substance are mixed, it starts to cure. Okay, my Bondo's still wet, but I still need to take this writing off of it. Cape Cod Furniture. I don't know. I make a lot of bed and breakfast signs, y'all, and they always sell. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I love the unique shape of it. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get sanded. Okay, now that I've got it sanded, I got the Bondo sanded, we're just going to wipe it down, get it cleaned off. Okay, since I've got Bondo, I've got raw wood, I've got that staining, I just feel better by sealing it in with a couple coats, front and back, of some shellac. So for my sign, of course, I'm going to go with my classic sign color of flour sack by Sweet Pickins, the milk paint, because I'm going to be looking for some age. So if you have not used Sweet Pickins milk paint, as you see, it's a powder. So you mix up equal parts powder, equal parts water, and this is just room temperature tap water, nothing fancy. For the ease of using, I put it in a water bottle. You go ahead and incorporate the powder in with the liquid, stirring it for about 2 minutes. I may need more, I'm not sure, because I'm doing both sides, but it's easy enough to make up another batch. So I just make sure that I scrape my bottom, scrape the sides, making sure that I'm trying not to have clumps, but if it happens, it's character. Okay, we're gonna start painting. Take 2 of not being able to hit the button the first time. So when you use shellac as the primer, it really starts to grab. You can feel it grabbing. And for whatever reason, I get asked this all the time, is it the shellac that makes the crackles so well? And maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not the maker of the product, but I know when I use shellac, I have a good time with adhesion and it bonding to the item. And I get all those beautiful little crackles. And shellac comes in a spray and it comes in a can, so I don't think it matters which way you put it on. The nice thing about milk paint is you can help it dry with the heat gun. Especially since I want to be able to paint both sides. And you don't want to be here all day waiting for your paint to dry, right? Oh, I already have some beautiful crackles going on, but we still need the second coat. So to go on with the second coat, I'm going to mist it down with some plain water. That just helps the glide and it not take off the milk paint. You can feel like if you don't mist it, sometimes you're going to get that grabbiness of your paintbrush. And that first coat really does attract that second coat to give you some more coverage. Definitely have some beautiful crackles, crazy chippiness. I'm not going to sand it yet until I get my wording on. So I'm going to go ahead and seal this in with a clear coat of polyacrylic matte. Okay, for my sign, I just went to my Cricut and I Cricketed out this Carriage Inn, which seems to be a general bed and breakfast. And then I use 3 different fonts. I always love the cursive for the B's. I think that's really fancy. And then the giggle is where you make both. So this is always sold well for me. I mean, not like you put it in and it sells right away, but it always sells where I feel like I need to make another one. So that is what I came up with. And then I just, after doing each individual, you have to do each individual grouping here, even like the bed and the breakfast. That's all separately typed out in text. And then I just sized it to what the board is to make a stencil. So now it's the fun of the weeding, and I lucked out that I didn't have to print it all out separately, that it was just the size of the board. Sometimes when you print these out, you have to do them like in the wording sections, so I was happy that I did not have to do that. But I do think it's fun to use a few different fonts in it. But you know what? It's your project. You always do you. If you like the same font for all the wording, then you can come up with something different than Carriage Inn. I know that I've done like Lake House and like old timey like Williamston or something like that. But Carriage Inn is the one that's always like sold. So see if I can get it even on some transfer tape. Or or close enough. Oh no. Oh no, that didn't work out for me. That's okay. We will make it work. I don't want to cut out another piece. So my vinyl, my transfer tape has some, work with what you have. It still works. So the thing with the two-sided, though we're only doing this one-sided. I get to pick which side I like the best to put my wording on. Now this side has some bigger crackles, so that's what I'm going to go with. So, and this really like almost fits the whole thing. So, okay. So if it's off a little bit, it's okay. But it should stick fairly well since I polyacryliced it. I'm going to go ahead and go over with some picket fence just to try to help that I don't have bleed under, especially since, like I said, my transfer. Oh yeah, I'm a little wonky, but so just going over it with some white. Before doing some black lettering. For my black color for my stencil, I'm going to be using Fusion's Coal Black. And I'm going to use a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store, and we're just going to do a little bit on. Okay, I put 2 coats of black on. Time to make sure that it's dry. And then we'll start removing the vinyl. And you know it's going to take some of that off, but that's why I didn't do anything before. Okay, now that my letters are on and the underpaint worked, I don't really have any bleed under. Hey, they worked out. So I'm going to go ahead and do some sanding. Now I'm going to finish it up with some clear wax. And then, because when I sanded it, some of the polyacrylic would have came off. A little bit of aging wax, because I always like when it gets into the little crackles and crazings going on there. You got some of them, but you put it in there and it just pops them right out. Then a little bit more clear on top of them so it doesn't make the paint brown. This is so lightweight, I don't see why I can't put just a hammer in one of these back here too. This is so thin I'd be afraid to do my regular, that the screws would go through. So I have a thing for watering cans. I really do. I collect them. I have a whole collection. And you know how collections go. You pick up one because you're like, oh, it's a watering can. You know, the old vintage metal watering cans. And then as you start into your collection, you start like weeding them out. Well, I want the ones that have the spout now. So I do have a outdoor booth where I sell outdoor items, but the ones without the spout, and like this one doesn't have a handle, they don't sell. So, but I'm not taking this to recycling. It is so cool. So I thought, why not paint it up to look old? I see no reason why this couldn't use a paint job. Though I love a vintage metal. There's a lot of these around these parts. So let's give it a little bit different look and see if that makes somebody love it a little bit more. Well, it has been cleaned, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down one more time. I cleaned it, of course, before I threw it up in my collections. And if you watch the Journey channel and you see videos of our shop, the shop tour, or anytime that I show my collections on social media, that's the place to check those kind of things out. So, even though I want this to have a chippy paint look, I still need some of the paint to stick on. It's metal, it's old, it's aged. So I am going to do a primer of shellac on it. If I gave you everything here in the channel, I wouldn't need those others. So anyway, yeah, so let's just get it wiped down with some Dawn dish soap, some hot water. My paint can, I am going to do a mixture of flour sack and then a mixture of antique ironstone, one of the new Jamie Ray Bespoke collection. I like it, but it's a little tan for me, and I'm kind of envisioning that like a little dirty, dirtyish white color. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna do half and half. So 1 scoop of each. That's the fun with milk paint, is you can kind of play around, which you could do with a lot of paints, but the powder makes it really easy to play around and do individualized colors. Yeah, I think, yeah. I'm not looking for this crisp paint job. It's an aged watering can, so paint would have chipped off. So I'm going to be using some of the Sweet Pickins beeswax. I like the beeswax a lot better than candle wax, I will tell you. But whew, be careful. So I'm just going to rub it on where I want the paint to chip off. The last time I did this, I rubbed it on almost the whole thing, and almost all my paint came off. So we got to be careful there. Character. It's hard. Well, yeah, see, because I'm just going to do it. Whatever it hits is what it hits. Because I love that look. It was scary at first when you're watching the paint chip off or like not adhere to it, but that's what it would have done in the weather. So it is definitely a much different. It's like look at, I can feel it melting in my hand. It's much different than the candle wax that I've ever used. Okay, we're going to paint away. And I do think when you're brushing it on, it kind of, the beeswax kind of does get spread around, but that's okay. And you can see like, oh, I'm not going to be there. That's okay too. I probably wouldn't suggest hitting it with a heat gun to dry it, because you're just going to melt your wax even more. Well, I'm already liking what it's doing, but we got to put a second coat on. And I'm going to go in with a smaller brush just for a little bit more control over it. Oh, does this have some amazing chippiness. But I'm not going to just take the chippiness and wax it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this in with some weather defense metal spray, because I still want to add a transfer for some fun. But yeah, it's got that beautiful age to it. So if I started like rubbing on it, it would come off. But with putting a clear coat on there, it will actually salvage some of it and just make it look like it's crackled. Some of it definitely will go off to the metal, but that's not necessarily what I wanted all to disappear. Okay, now I do want to put a transfer on here, yes, on chippy paint. And I have one of the fairy tale florals, and this is a smaller little sheet. And what I'm looking at is that beautiful blue. Is it a toil? I don't know. All I know is it's blue. It's that. Oh, I tore the whole thing apart. Oops. There is two of them, but which way does it go? I think it goes this way. Like a question, y'all. But I want to put it on there. The color is the color that matches. So I need to cut this out, and I'm going to put it right on top of here. We'll see how that works on chippy paint, but I've sealed it in. If it chips off a little bit, it just makes it look even better, in my opinion. Okay, I'm just picking a side. I'm not going to use two of them up on this. I just want to use one. And I've just decided that I think that this is the right position for it to be in. And then I'm just going to kind of try to center it with the handle. And then go ahead and put it down. We'll see how this works with chippy milk paint. Chippy milk paint. Part of being a creator or being a DIY, or is trying things that take you out of your wheelhouse, things that you've never done before. They may or may not work out. That happens sometimes. So far, it looks like it is sticking. So when you're doing a transfer like this, once the sheet becomes cloudy, you can kind of tell that it has been transferred down. It does help if you pull it up a little bit, but you don't want to pull up faster than you're getting it transferred down. Okay, that piece just is not going to stick down, and that is okay. And I'm just going to go like that. Whatever chips off is going to chip off. So I'm taking some clear wax now, and whatever's going to chip off is going to chip off. And probably what saved it from not chipping all the way off is spraying it with that that weather defense metal spray. A little bit of the aging wax, clear, and then I'll just add the two together and give it a little bit more age, like it really is old and dirty. So I know they're canvases, and I know it's not anything like, ooh, big deal, but look at the shape of the canvas. I'm like, that is so cool. Normally I wouldn't pick up canvases because you can buy them at the dollar store, and I've got quite a stash of it, but the sizing is what had me. So they remind me of like vintage, like mid-century modern shape. So I went searching to see what I could put on them, and you'd be surprised. You might be surprised with what I came up with. So I ran across these Deco transfers by Redesign, and they're peacocks. And y'all, I don't know what it is about peacocks. I think they're gorgeous, but anytime I stumble across anything that's a peacock, it doesn't last in my booth. So I love the idea. Like, it was like a God wink moment. Look at like this. Though I don't think I'd put that's too much bling. That's too much bling going on there. I just like the simplicity of just that. And there is like, a bigger one. And of course they show it on a dresser. But that was my plan, is that I want to put them on the canvas, because I thought that is it. I'm not sure about the other one. I don't know, I might save that for a different project, but I know I have two that I want to do. So, but then my decision was, do I paint them, or is it just going to look like a painted canvas that I put peacocks on, or do I put fabric and make it look a little bit more vintage? Because a lot of times these would have been fabric. Yeah. So then my next question was, do I take the canvas off? But it's nice and strong. Like, I love that color. Like, that's the color I would like it to be. So I might see if I can flip. I've never flipped canvas around, but that's the color I love. I did find some fabric, but now that I'm looking in the inside, that's the color I would like it to be, not this bright white. So, okay, let's see if we could. I've got 3, so if I make a mess out of one, and they were thrifted, so they weren't very much money. So let's see if I can flip this canvas around and get the color I want. Okay, so the fun of getting to do what we do is testing out things we're not sure of. And I'm sure other people have probably flipped this around and got that color that they wanted. So, oop, I don't even need that. No, magnetic. So we're just going to get these staples removed. Okay, I have them all out. So let's see. Oh, I think it won't be any big deal to switch this over. Oh my goodness. I don't think so. I think it will be easy peasy. Well, not easy peasy. Nothing is ever easy peasy. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier to work with this if I iron it out, because it's very stiff. But I don't want to iron right on top of the canvas, so I'm just going to use a thinner towel. Just to flatten it out. And plus that'll help me when I want to change the bend of flipping it the other way. So I'm not putting all this other on there. So I'm just going to cut those out. See, because then when I measured and I'm like, look at that, fits that whole thing. So if I kept enough of the square part, we're good. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. I'm not worried too much about it like sticking too quickly. Just get to rub. You know, these come with a rubbing tool. And then you usually just keep on rubbing until you get a clear. Then you can start lifting your paper. And actually it's liking being part of this really well, so that's good. I was worried but you can put transfers right onto fabric, so I mean, it's taken me no time at all. Oh, and it is on. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm going to get the other one on before deciding if I want to add the other peacock feathers to it. This for me is a little too much, but I don't think I'll mind. Maybe. Okay, so let's put them side by side while we make our decision. Like, they're really beautiful just as is, but there is a lot of dead space, and those peacock feathers are beautiful. So I do think we could put those on, and it wouldn't be too much. I don't think so. Especially since the peacock doesn't have any feet, any legs. Okay, so now I want to protect my image. So I'm going to put it down on a clean towel, the one I ironed with. Okay, I've got the towel down. I'm going to try to think that. Okay, I'll put one in and then we'll kind of take a peek. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, then we got to do some folds. Let's see. I'll figure it out. I figured it out, right? Okay, I think that's right. Spots are covered. Okay, so I need to seal in the transfer. So you can do wax, you can do clear coat, but I think I'm going to do clear coat because I think the clear coat's going to soak into the canvas and give it a little bit more age. So I'm going to do the polyacrylic and the matte. So if you know me and my channel, these are just too freshly done. They just look like they're new objects. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of wax. My polyacrylic is dry. It's sealed in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing like a little bit. I'm going to start off with aging wax first. And start to see what I can create, giving a little bit of texture. But, you know, like we're working on fabric, so I've got clear now, and I'm just going to start seeing if I can blend it in. So now I put some cinnamon, some decrepit dust, and some grit, and I'm still going to just play a little bit. I think I'll be able to control these a little bit better. I mean, I got the aging wax to blend in, but oh, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. You know, you just have to keep playing until you find. Unfortunately, the canvas is not as forgiving as metal or wood. You'll see what I mean once I set it next to it. See, it's just kind of, it's just framing it in. I like that much better. Maybe not the old character like old canvas would, you know, have, but just frames it in, gives it a little bit more visual interest. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed today's content. Three items, but you had to wait for paint to dry. You can't rush wax underneath paint, painting both sides of a sign to give it that finished look. And I know that distressing is not for everybody, but I think that brought in those canvases on the peacocks and just gave them more of a finished look. And I love the little blue transfer on that chippy ironstone flower sack watering can that most of the time people would just overlook and not want to purchase. So I hope I see you back next time so you can see what items I'm making over in the next video. Bye.